Welcome to Heavenly Sleep Stories, your relaxing escape into the wonders of the human brain and body. In this video, we'll explore 100 fascinating facts about humans and the brain, from neurons firing at incredible speeds to the mysteries of memory, emotions, and consciousness. Whether you're curious about how your brain works, how humans evolved, or just love learning amazing science facts, this journey will be both relaxing and enlightening. If you enjoy discovering the secrets of the mind, subscribe to Heavenly Sleep Stories and turn on notifications so you never miss a fact-filled adventure. Sit back, unwind, and let your curiosity guide you. Don't forget to leave a comment about what topics you'd like us to explore next, and we'll bring your ideas to life in future videos. 1. Human brain weighs 3 pounds. The human brain, despite its relatively small size, is an incredibly powerful organ weighing about 3 pounds, or roughly 1.4 kilograms. It makes up only about 2% of the body's total weight, yet it consumes nearly 20% of the body's energy. This compact organ is composed of billions of neurons and trillions of connections, allowing it to control everything from movement and senses to thoughts, emotions, and memories. The brain's size and weight vary slightly among individuals, but what truly matters is the complexity of its neural networks. The dense structure of neurons, glial cells, and blood vessels ensures that the brain receives a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients to function efficiently. Even though it's soft and delicate, the brain is protected by the skull, cerebrospinal fluid, and membranes called meninges, which act as a cushion against injury. Understanding the weight and structure of the brain helps us appreciate how much is packed into this remarkable organ, and how such a relatively small mass orchestrates every aspect of human life, thought, and consciousness. 2. Neurons send signals at high speed. Neurons, the basic building blocks of the brain, communicate using electrical and chemical signals at astonishing speeds. Each neuron connects to thousands of others through specialized junctions called synapses, forming vast networks that process information constantly. Signals, called action potentials, travel along axons at speeds ranging from a few feet per second up to 250 miles per hour in myelinated neurons. Neurotransmitters, chemical messengers released at synapses, allow neurons to pass information to neighboring cells, coordinating everything from reflexes to complex reasoning. This high-speed communication enables humans to react quickly to the environment, learn new skills, form memories, and experience emotions. Even subtle brain activities, such as recognizing a face or understanding a sentence, involve billions of neurons firing simultaneously. The speed and efficiency of neuronal communication are essential for survival, adaptation, and daily functioning. Disruptions in these signals can lead to neurological disorders, highlighting how critical this rapid signaling is to human health. By studying neuronal communication, scientists continue to unlock the mysteries of cognition, consciousness, and behavior, revealing how our brains operate at lightning speed. 3. Prefrontal cortex controls decisions. The prefrontal cortex, located at the front of the brain, is the command center for decision-making, planning, and personality. This region allows humans to analyze information, weigh consequences, and make choices that go beyond instinctive reactions. It is crucial for goal-directed behavior, impulse control, and problem-solving, helping individuals adapt to complex social environments. The prefrontal cortex also plays a key role in emotional regulation, integrating feelings with rational thought to guide actions. Damage to this area can lead to poor judgment, impulsivity, or difficulty planning for the future. Throughout development, especially during adolescence, the prefrontal cortex matures gradually, which is why teenagers often display more risk-taking behaviors compared to adults. The connections between the prefrontal cortex and other brain regions, such as the amygdala and hippocampus, allow for memory integration and emotional processing. Understanding this area provides insight into human creativity, leadership, and moral reasoning. Its central role in executive functions highlights how the prefrontal cortex shapes who we are, enabling us to make choices, plan ahead, and navigate the complexities of life with conscious thought and deliberate action. 4. Cerebral cortex enables complex thought. The cerebral cortex, the brain's outer layer, is responsible for higher-order functions like thinking, reasoning, language, and perception. It is divided into 4 lobes: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital, each specializing in different cognitive abilities. The cortex processes sensory input, allowing humans to interpret sights, sounds, and touch, while integrating this information to form coherent thoughts. Its extensive network of neurons and synapses supports memory, problem-solving, creativity, and decision-making. The folds and grooves of the cortex increase surface area, accommodating more neurons and enhancing processing capacity. Complex behaviors, such as planning a project, composing music, or solving mathematical problems, rely heavily on cortical function. The cerebral cortex also facilitates social cognition, including empathy, moral reasoning, and understanding others' perspectives. Disorders affecting the cortex, such as strokes or neurodegenerative diseases, can significantly impair cognitive abilities and perception. Studying the cerebral cortex reveals how intricate neural circuits produce human intelligence, consciousness, and the ability to engage with the world in a sophisticated and meaningful way, distinguishing humans from many other species. 5. Brain can rewire itself. The brain's remarkable ability to adapt, known as neuroplasticity, allows it to rewire itself in response to learning, experience, or injury. Neuroplasticity involves strengthening existing connections between neurons, forming new synapses, and sometimes even generating new neurons in certain brain regions like the hippocampus. This capacity enables humans to acquire new skills, recover from brain injuries, and compensate for lost functions. For example, after a stroke, areas of the brain may reorganize to take over tasks previously handled by damaged regions. Learning a musical instrument or a new language stimulates neuroplasticity, reshaping neural networks to improve coordination, memory, and cognitive flexibility. Environmental enrichment, mental challenges, and physical exercise all promote this adaptability, keeping the brain resilient throughout life. Neuroplasticity demonstrates that the brain is not static but constantly evolving, reflecting the dynamic interplay between biology and experience. It underscores the potential for growth, recovery, and lifelong learning, highlighting the brain's extraordinary capacity to change and adapt to the world around us. 6. Memory is stored in multiple brain areas. Memory in the human brain is not confined to a single location but is distributed across multiple regions, each contributing to different types of memory. The hippocampus is crucial for forming new episodic memories, while the prefrontal cortex helps organize and retrieve them. Procedural memories, like riding a bike, rely heavily on the basal ganglia and cerebellum. Sensory memories, such as visual or auditory information, are processed in the occipital and temporal lobes. The interaction between these areas allows the brain to integrate experiences, encode details, and recall information efficiently. Memory is dynamic, meaning that each retrieval can slightly alter stored information. Sleep plays a vital role in consolidating memories, transferring them from short-term to long-term storage. Emotional significance also enhances memory retention, as the amygdala interacts with other regions to prioritize important experiences. Understanding how memory is distributed across the brain reveals the complexity of learning, recall, and human cognition, emphasizing that remembering is a coordinated effort of many neural networks. 7. Hippocampus is key for forming memories. The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure located deep within the temporal lobe, is essential for forming and organizing new memories. It acts as a central hub for consolidating short-term experiences into long-term memory, allowing individuals to recall events, locations, and sequences of actions. Damage to the hippocampus can result in an inability to form new memories, a condition known as anterograde amnesia, while older memories may remain intact. This structure also helps in spatial navigation, enabling humans to create mental maps of their environment. The hippocampus interacts closely with the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, integrating emotions with experiences to prioritize what should be remembered. Neurogenesis, or the generation of new neurons, occurs in the hippocampus throughout life, contributing to learning and cognitive flexibility. Studies show that engaging in activities like physical exercise, mental challenges, and enriched environments strengthens hippocampal function, promoting memory formation and retention. This illustrates the hippocampus's central role in shaping our experiences and personal identity through memory. 8. Humans have mirror neurons for empathy. Mirror neurons are specialized brain cells that activate both when a person performs an action and when they observe someone else performing the same action. These neurons are believed to play a critical role in empathy, social learning, and understanding others' intentions. Located primarily in the promotor cortex and parietal lobe, mirror neurons help humans interpret emotions, facial expressions, and body language. By simulating observed behaviors internally, the brain can predict outcomes and respond appropriately, fostering connection and cooperation. Mirror neurons are also involved in imitation, a vital mechanism for learning skills and cultural behaviors, especially in children. The discovery of these neurons has revolutionized our understanding of social cognition, revealing the neural basis for human empathy and communication. Dysfunction in the mirror neuron system has been linked to social disorders, including autism spectrum conditions. Overall, these neurons illustrate how the brain enables humans to understand and resonate with the feelings and actions of others, forming the foundation of social interaction, learning, and compassionate behavior. 9. Brain consumes 20% of body energy. Despite representing only about 2% of body weight, the human brain consumes roughly 20% of the body's total energy. This high energy demand is necessary to power billions of neurons firing electrical signals, maintain synaptic activity, and support essential functions like cognition, sensory processing, and motor coordination. The majority of this energy comes from glucose delivered by the blood, highlighting the brain's reliance on proper nutrition and oxygenation. Even minor interruptions in blood flow or glucose supply can impair cognitive function, demonstrating the brain's vulnerability and metabolic intensity. The energy supports continuous maintenance of ion gradients across neuronal membranes, which are critical for signal transmission. Activities like thinking, problem-solving, or learning temporarily increase energy demand in specific brain regions. Understanding the brain's energy consumption emphasizes the importance of diet, sleep, and cardiovascular health for optimal brain function. It also reveals how evolution has prioritized a highly active and energy-intensive organ to support human intelligence and complex behaviors. 10. Emotions are processed in the amygdala. The amygdala, an almond-shaped structure deep within the temporal lobe, is central to processing emotions such as fear, pleasure, and anger. It evaluates sensory input and quickly determines emotional significance, triggering appropriate physiological and behavioral responses. For example, detecting danger can activate the amygdala, initiating the fight-or-flight response. It also interacts with the hippocampus to link emotions with memories, explaining why emotionally charged experiences are often remembered more vividly. The amygdala contributes to social behavior by helping humans recognize emotional cues in others, facilitating empathy and communication. Dysregulation of amygdala activity is associated with anxiety, depression, and other mood disorders, highlighting its role in mental health. Beyond basic emotions, the amygdala participates in complex processes such as reward evaluation, motivation, and decision-making under uncertainty. Understanding the amygdala reveals how emotions shape thought, behavior, and memory, illustrating the deep integration of emotional processing in human cognition and daily life. 11. Left brain controls right body movement. The left hemisphere of the human brain primarily controls movements and sensory inputs on the right side of the body. This cross-wiring occurs because neural pathways from each hemisphere cross over at the brainstem or spinal cord. The left hemisphere is often associated with logical reasoning, language processing, and analytical thinking. But its motor control is equally vital for coordinating precise actions, from writing to using tools. Damage to the left hemisphere, such as from a stroke, can result in weakness or paralysis on the right side, highlighting the critical role of this hemisphere in everyday movement. The motor cortex, located in the frontal lobe, contains neurons that send signals through the spinal cord to muscles, translating thought into action. Coordination between both hemispheres ensures smooth bilateral movement, allowing humans to perform complex tasks like playing musical instruments or sports. Understanding lateralization of brain function provides insight into how the brain organizes and executes voluntary motion efficiently. 12. Right brain processes visual and spatial tasks. The right hemisphere of the brain specializes in processing visual and spatial information, enabling humans to perceive shapes, distances, and patterns accurately. It plays a crucial role in recognizing faces, navigating environments, and understanding geometric relationships. While the left hemisphere handles analytical tasks like language and logic, the right hemisphere excels in holistic thinking, creativity, and visual imagery. It integrates sensory input to help the brain form a coherent perception of the surrounding world. Damage to the right hemisphere can lead to difficulties in spatial orientation, visual recognition, and tasks like drawing or assembling objects. This hemisphere communicates with the left through the corpus callosum, ensuring coordination between analytical and spatial functions. Artists, architects, and engineers often engage their right brain more actively, combining visual and spatial reasoning to solve problems or create designs. Studying the right brain reveals how humans interpret, navigate, and interact with the three-dimensional world around them. 13. Synapses allow communication between neurons. Synapses are the junctions between neurons that enable communication throughout the nervous system. When an electrical signal reaches the end of a neuron, it triggers the release of neurotransmitters into the synaptic gap, which then bind to receptors on the adjacent neuron, continuing the signal. This process allows the brain to transmit information at high speed, coordinating movement, sensation, thought, and emotion. Synapses are not just passive conduits, they are dynamic and can strengthen or weaken over time, a process known as synaptic plasticity. This adaptability underlies learning and memory, allowing neural circuits to be reshaped in response to experience. The efficiency and health of synapses are critical for brain function. Disruptions can lead to neurological disorders, including Alzheimer's disease, depression, and epilepsy. Understanding synapses highlights how billions of neurons communicate seamlessly, creating the complex networks that allow humans to perceive, act, and think. These tiny connections form the backbone of cognition and consciousness. 14. Myelin sheath speeds up nerve signals. The myelin sheath is a protective fatty layer that wraps around the axons of many neurons, acting like insulation on electrical wires. Its primary function is to increase the speed and efficiency of nerve signal transmission, allowing rapid communication between neurons and across different brain regions. This speed is essential for reflexes, coordinated movement, and complex cognitive processes. Myelin is produced by specialized cells called oligodendrocytes in the central nervous system and Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system. Damage to myelin, as seen in diseases like multiple sclerosis, can slow or block neural signals, resulting in weakness, impaired coordination, and cognitive difficulties. The presence of myelin also conserves energy, as fewer ion exchanges are needed for signal propagation. During development, myelination progresses from basic motor and sensory areas to higher-order cognitive regions, paralleling skill acquisition in children. Myelin illustrates how structural adaptations in the brain enable fast, precise, and energy-efficient communication between billions of neurons. 15. Brain produces new neurons throughout life. Contrary to earlier beliefs, the human brain continues to produce new neurons, a process called neurogenesis, well into adulthood. This primarily occurs in the hippocampus, a region critical for learning and memory. Neurogenesis contributes to cognitive flexibility, memory formation, and the brain's ability to adapt to new experiences or recover from injury. Factors such as physical exercise, mental stimulation, and enriched environments can enhance the production of new neurons, while chronic stress and aging can reduce it. Newly formed neurons integrate into existing circuits, allowing the brain to strengthen connections, compensate for lost function, and maintain mental sharpness. Neurogenesis also plays a role in mood regulation, with research suggesting links between new neuron growth and resilience to depression or anxiety. Understanding that the brain can create new neurons throughout life underscores its remarkable adaptability, demonstrating that human cognition and learning potential are not fixed but dynamic and continually evolving. 16. Neurotransmitters regulate mood and behavior. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that carry signals between neurons, influencing nearly every aspect of human behavior and physiology. They play a critical role in regulating mood, emotions, attention, and even sleep patterns. For example, dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine each contribute differently to mental and physical processes. Imbalances in neurotransmitters can lead to disorders such as depression, anxiety, or schizophrenia, while proper regulation promotes emotional stability and cognitive function. Neurotransmitters are released from one neuron into the synaptic gap, binding to receptors on another neuron to propagate a signal. Their action is often brief, allowing precise control over brain activity. External factors like diet, exercise, stress, and medication can influence neurotransmitter levels, affecting behavior and perception. Studying these chemicals helps scientists understand how the brain coordinates complex behaviors, from decision-making to social interaction, emphasizing the delicate chemical balance underlying human thought and emotion. 17. Dopamine affects reward and motivation. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter central to the brain's reward system and motivation. It is released in response to pleasurable experiences, such as eating, social interaction, or achieving goals, reinforcing behaviors that promote survival and well-being. Dopamine pathways also influence learning, attention, and motor control. Dysregulation of dopamine is linked to disorders like Parkinson's disease, which impairs movement, or addiction, which hijacks the reward system, leading to compulsive behaviors. The anticipation of rewards often stimulates dopamine release more than the reward itself, driving motivation and goal-directed actions. Dopamine interacts with other brain regions, including the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, integrating cognition and emotion to guide decision-making. Lifestyle factors such as exercise, adequate sleep, and positive social interactions can help maintain healthy dopamine levels. Understanding dopamine's role reveals how the brain balances pleasure, motivation, and behavior, providing insight into learning, habit formation, and emotional regulation. 18. Serotonin influences mood and sleep. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that plays a vital role in regulating mood, sleep, appetite, and overall emotional well-being. Produced primarily in the brain and intestines, serotonin affects the function of neurons in key regions like the prefrontal cortex and limbic system. Balanced serotonin levels contribute to feelings of happiness, calmness, and emotional stability, while low levels are associated with depression, anxiety, and sleep disturbances. Serotonin also regulates the body's circadian rhythms by influencing sleep-wake cycles, which are essential for memory consolidation, cognitive function, and overall health. Diet, sunlight exposure, exercise, and social interactions can all impact serotonin production. Many antidepressant medications, such as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, work by increasing serotonin availability in the brain, improving mood and emotional resilience. Studying serotonin underscores the chemical foundations of human emotion and behavior, highlighting how neurotransmitters shape our daily experiences, mental health, and ability to interact effectively with the world around us. 19. Brainstem controls breathing and heartbeat. The brainstem, located at the base of the brain, is a critical structure that manages essential life-sustaining functions such as breathing, heartbeat, and blood pressure. It connects the brain to the spinal cord, acting as a communication hub between the central nervous system and the body. The brainstem contains specialized centers that regulate autonomic functions automatically, allowing humans to survive without conscious thought. It also controls reflexes like swallowing, coughing, and vomiting. Damage to the brainstem can result in severe impairments or even be life-threatening, as it disrupts these vital processes. In addition to basic survival, the brainstem contributes to sleep regulation, attention, and sensory processing. Its role illustrates the importance of lower brain structures in maintaining homeostasis and coordinating involuntary actions. Understanding the brainstem provides insight into how the nervous system integrates automatic bodily functions with higher cognitive processes to sustain life and respond to the environment efficiently. 20. Cerebellum manages balance and coordination. The cerebellum, located at the back of the brain beneath the occipital lobes, is essential for maintaining balance, posture, and coordination. It integrates information from the inner ear, eyes, muscles, and joints to ensure smooth, precise movements. The cerebellum does not initiate movement but fine-tunes motor commands from the motor cortex, enabling complex tasks like walking, running, or playing instruments. It also contributes to motor learning, helping the brain adapt and improve movements with practice. Damage to the cerebellum can result in clumsiness, tremors, or difficulty coordinating movements. Recent research suggests the cerebellum also participates in cognitive functions such as attention, language, and emotional regulation, highlighting its broader role beyond motor control. The cerebellum's ability to process sensory input rapidly and adjust motor outputs demonstrates the intricate neural coordination required for everyday activities and the elegance of the brain's organizational structure. 21. Occipital lobe processes visual information. The occipital lobe, located at the back of the brain, is primarily responsible for processing visual information. It interprets signals from the eyes, allowing humans to recognize shapes, colors, motion, and depth. Visual input is transmitted from the retina via the optic nerves to the occipital cortex, where neurons analyze and organize this data into coherent images. This lobe also participates in higher-level visual processing, including recognizing faces and reading. Damage to the occipital lobe can lead to visual impairments, such as blindness or difficulty identifying objects, highlighting its crucial role in perception. The occipital lobe interacts with other brain regions, including the parietal and temporal lobes, to integrate vision with spatial awareness and memory. Understanding the occipital lobe reveals how the brain transforms raw sensory input into meaningful visual experiences, enabling humans to navigate, interpret, and interact with the world accurately. 22. Temporal lobe processes hearing and memory. The temporal lobe, located on the sides of the brain near the temples, is essential for processing auditory information and memory. It receives signals from the ears and interprets sounds, including speech, music, and environmental noises. The temporal lobe also houses the hippocampus, a key structure for forming and storing long-term memories. This integration allows humans to associate sounds with experiences, emotions, and knowledge. Damage to the temporal lobe can lead to difficulties in understanding language, recognizing familiar sounds, or recalling memories. It also plays a role in emotional regulation and social cognition, helping individuals interpret tone, context, and social cues. By coordinating auditory perception with memory and emotional processing, The temporal lobe enables humans to communicate, learn from experiences, and respond effectively to their environment. Understanding this lobe highlights how sensory input and memory work together to shape human perception and behavior. 23. Parietal lobe integrates sensory information. The parietal lobe, positioned near the top and back of the brain, integrates sensory information from various parts of the body. It processes touch, temperature, pain, and spatial awareness, allowing humans to perceive their body in relation to the surrounding environment. The somatosensory cortex, located within the parietal lobe, maps the body and translates signals from skin, muscles, and joints into precise sensations. The parietal lobe also contributes to coordination and motor planning by working with the frontal lobe to guide movement. Damage to this region can result in difficulties with perception, navigation, or understanding spatial relationships. Additionally, the parietal lobe supports cognitive functions such as attention, mathematics, and language comprehension. By integrating diverse sensory inputs, it allows humans to interact effectively with their environment, make informed decisions, and perform complex physical and cognitive tasks with precision and awareness. 24. Brain uses electrical and chemical signals. The brain communicates using a combination of electrical impulses and chemical signals, creating an intricate network of information flow. Neurons transmit electrical signals, known as action potentials, along their axons, allowing rapid communication between distant brain regions. When an electrical signal reaches the synapse, it triggers the release of neurotransmitters, chemical messengers that cross the synaptic gap to influence the next neuron. This dual signaling system enables precise coordination of movement, thought, emotion, and sensory perception. Electrical signals allow immediate responses, such as reflexes, while chemical signals modulate long-term processes like learning, mood, and memory. Different neurotransmitters, including dopamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine, have specialized roles in regulating behavior and cognition. The combination of electrical and chemical communication ensures the brain operates efficiently, adapting to new experiences and maintaining homeostasis. Understanding this process highlights the remarkable complexity underlying human thought and neural function. 25. Glial cells support neuron function. Glial cells, sometimes called the brain support cells, are essential for maintaining neuron function and overall brain health. They provide structural support, supply nutrients, remove waste, and insulate neurons with myelin to speed up signal transmission. Unlike neurons, glial cells do not generate electrical signals, but their role is critical in ensuring the brain's networks operate efficiently. Types of glial cells include astrocytes, which maintain the chemical environment around neurons, oligodendrocytes, which produce myelin in the central nervous system, and microglia, which defend against infection and clear debris. Glial cells also play a role in modulating synaptic activity, influencing learning and memory processes. Dysfunction of glial cells is linked to neurological disorders such as multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's disease, and depression. Recognizing the importance of glial cells emphasizes that brain function is not solely dependent on neurons, but relies on a complex interplay of supportive and signaling cells working together. 26. Human brain has around 86 billion neurons. The human brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each forming intricate networks with thousands of other neurons. These cells are the primary signaling units of the brain, transmitting electrical and chemical signals that underlie every thought, sensation, and action. While neurons are relatively small, their vast numbers and complex interconnections create a dense network capable of processing enormous amounts of information simultaneously. The cerebral cortex houses a significant proportion of these neurons, supporting advanced cognitive functions like reasoning, memory, and language. Different types of neurons, including sensory, motor, and interneurons, work together to coordinate bodily functions, respond to the environment, and regulate internal processes. The sheer number of neurons, combined with trillions of synaptic connections, allows for extraordinary adaptability and learning capacity. Studying the neuron count provides insight into the brain's computational power and its unparalleled ability to process, integrate, and store information throughout a human lifetime. 27. Neurons can form thousands of connections. Each neuron in the brain can form thousands of synaptic connections with other neurons, creating a complex web of communication. These connections allow signals to travel across networks rapidly, enabling coordination between different brain regions. Synaptic plasticity, the ability to strengthen or weaken these connections, is the foundation for learning, memory, and adaptation. Neurons communicate through neurotransmitters, chemicals released at synapses, allowing one neuron to influence multiple downstream targets. The number and strength of these connections are shaped by experiences, environmental stimuli, and learning. This connectivity supports sophisticated cognitive functions such as problem-solving, emotional regulation, and creativity. Disruptions in synaptic connections can contribute to neurological and psychiatric disorders, highlighting their importance for healthy brain function. By forming thousands of dynamic connections, neurons create the structural and functional basis for human intelligence, perception, and behavior. 28. Brain waves change with activity and sleep. The brain produces electrical patterns known as brain waves, which vary depending on activity, consciousness, and sleep stages. These waves are categorized into delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma frequencies. Delta waves dominate during deep sleep, supporting restoration and memory consolidation. Theta waves appear in light sleep and meditation, associated with creativity and relaxation. Alpha waves are present during calm, wakeful states, promoting mental coordination and learning. Beta waves occur during active thinking, problem-solving, and alertness, while gamma waves are linked to high-level cognitive processing and information integration. Brain waves reflect the synchronous activity of neurons and help coordinate communication between regions. Monitoring these waves provides insight into brain function, sleep quality, and mental health. Changes in brain wave patterns can indicate neurological disorders, stress, or cognitive impairment. Understanding brain waves reveals the dynamic nature of neural activity and how the brain shifts between rest, focus, and creativity. 29. Sleep strengthens memory and learning. Sleep plays a vital role in memory consolidation and learning. During sleep, the brain processes information gathered throughout the day, transferring memories from short-term storage in the hippocampus to long-term storage in the cortex. Both slow-wave and REM sleep contribute to this process, strengthening neural connections and enhancing recall. Sleep also supports problem-solving and creativity by allowing the brain to reorganize and integrate new information. Lack of sufficient sleep impairs attention, memory, and learning, demonstrating its importance for cognitive performance. Physical and emotional recovery also occurs during sleep, as the brain removes toxins and repairs neural tissue. Studies show that adequate sleep improves academic performance, skill acquisition, and emotional regulation. By prioritizing rest, the brain enhances its ability to learn, remember, and adapt, highlighting sleep's crucial role in maintaining cognitive health and overall brain function. 30. REM sleep is critical for dreaming. REM, rapid eye movement. Sleep is a unique stage of sleep characterized by rapid eye movements, increased brain activity, and vivid dreaming. During REM sleep, the brain exhibits patterns similar to wakefulness, activating regions involved in memory, emotion, and sensory processing. Dreams often occur in this stage, allowing the brain to process experiences, emotions, and unresolved thoughts. REM sleep also supports neural plasticity, memory consolidation, and learning, particularly for complex tasks and emotional experiences. The body experiences temporary muscle paralysis during REM sleep, preventing physical enactment of dreams. Disruptions in REM sleep can lead to memory problems, mood disturbances, and cognitive deficits. On average, REM sleep cycles recur multiple times per night, gradually increasing in duration as sleep progresses. Understanding REM sleep highlights its essential role in mental health, creativity, and the dynamic interplay between consciousness and subconscious processing during rest. 31. Brain size doesn't equal intelligence. The size of the human brain does not directly determine intelligence. While larger brains may contain more neurons, cognitive ability depends more on the complexity and efficiency of neural networks rather than sheer volume. Factors such as synaptic density, connectivity between brain regions, and myelination play a greater role in determining mental capabilities. Human intelligence also involves the balance between different brain areas, including the prefrontal cortex for reasoning and the temporal lobes for memory and language. Studies comparing brain sizes across individuals and species show that smaller brains can support complex thinking when neuronal organization is optimized. Additionally, environmental stimulation, education, and experience shape cognitive function over time, emphasizing adaptability over raw size. Understanding that brain size is not the sole measure of intelligence underscores the importance of connectivity, plasticity, and functional integration in supporting learning, creativity, problem-solving, and adaptive thinking throughout life. 32. Intelligence involves neuron connections, not size. Intelligence arises from the intricate web of connections between neurons rather than the overall size of the brain. Neurons form networks that transmit information efficiently, enabling complex thought, problem-solving, and learning. The number of synapses and the strength of these connections determine how effectively information is processed and retained. Highly connected regions, such as the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, play critical roles in reasoning, memory, and decision-making. Neural plasticity, or the brain's ability to rewire itself, allows these connections to adapt based on experience, environment, and learning. Genetics provide a blueprint for neuronal architecture, but lifestyle factors, mental challenges, and social interactions continually shape connectivity. Intelligence is therefore dynamic, reflecting both the structural organization of neurons and their functional collaboration across brain regions. Studying neuron connections rather than size offers insight into how humans think, solve problems, and adapt to new information. 33. Brain networks adapt with new learning. The human brain has a remarkable capacity to adapt through learning, a process that reshapes neural networks continuously. When new information is acquired, synaptic connections strengthen, weaken, or form anew, allowing the brain to encode memories and skills efficiently. This adaptability, known as neuroplasticity, occurs throughout life, though it is especially pronounced in childhood and adolescence. Learning stimulates various brain regions, including the prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and sensory areas, depending on the type of information or skill being acquired. Repetition and practice reinforce neural pathways, making behaviors or knowledge more automatic over time. Challenges, novel experiences, and problem-solving tasks promote network growth, enhancing cognitive flexibility and resilience. Understanding that brain networks adapt with learning highlights the dynamic nature of human intelligence, demonstrating that knowledge, memory, and skill are products of continuously evolving neural connections rather than fixed structures. 34. Neuroplasticity helps recovery after injury. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new neural connections, is essential for recovery after injury. When areas of the brain are damaged, unaffected regions can adapt to compensate for lost function, enabling partial or sometimes full restoration of abilities. Rehabilitation exercises, cognitive therapy, and targeted physical activity stimulate neuroplastic changes, strengthening existing pathways or creating alternative routes for signal transmission. Neuroplasticity is influenced by age, with younger brains generally showing greater adaptability, but adults can still achieve significant recovery through consistent training and stimulation. This capability allows stroke patients, trauma survivors, and individuals with neurological conditions to regain skills in movement, speech, and cognition. Understanding neuroplasticity emphasizes the brain's resilience and its lifelong capacity for adaptation, offering hope for recovery and demonstrating the importance of continuous mental and physical engagement in maintaining neural health and functional recovery. 35. Stress affects memory and brain function. Chronic stress has profound effects on memory and overall brain function. High levels of stress hormones, such as cortisol, can impair the hippocampus, a region critical for forming and retrieving memories. Prolonged stress may reduce neurogenesis, weaken synaptic connections, and disrupt communication between brain regions, leading to difficulties in learning, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Stress also affects the amygdala, heightening emotional reactivity, which can interfere with rational thinking and memory consolidation. Conversely, short-term stress can enhance alertness and memory temporarily, helping respond to immediate threats. Managing stress through mindfulness, exercise, social support, and adequate sleep promotes healthier brain function and preserves cognitive abilities. Understanding the impact of stress highlights the delicate balance required for optimal memory, learning, and mental resilience, emphasizing that emotional and physiological well-being are inseparable from brain health. 36. Chronic stress can shrink the hippocampus. Chronic stress can have a damaging effect on the hippocampus, a critical brain region responsible for learning, memory, and emotional regulation. Elevated cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone, over time can lead to reduced hippocampal volume, impairing the formation of new memories and the retrieval of existing ones. This shrinkage can contribute to difficulties in concentration, decision-making, and emotional resilience. Chronic stress also affects neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons, further limiting cognitive flexibility. Studies have linked prolonged stress to an increased risk of depression and anxiety, highlighting the connection between mental health and hippocampal integrity. Techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, regular physical activity, and sufficient sleep can mitigate these effects by reducing cortisol levels and promoting hippocampal health. Understanding the impact of stress on the hippocampus emphasizes the importance of stress management for maintaining memory, learning, and overall brain function throughout life. 37. Meditation changes brain structure positively. Meditation has been shown to induce positive structural changes in the brain, promoting mental health and cognitive function. Regular meditation increases the thickness of the prefrontal cortex, which is involved in attention, decision-making, and emotional regulation. It also enhances connectivity between different brain regions, improving communication and efficiency. Meditation can increase gray matter in areas associated with memory and learning, such as the hippocampus, and reduce activity in the amygdala, which governs stress and fear responses. These changes help individuals manage stress, improve focus, and maintain emotional stability. Neuroimaging studies reveal that long-term meditators have more resilient neural networks, demonstrating the brain's capacity to adapt in response to consistent mental practice. By reshaping brain structure and function, meditation highlights the profound influence of intentional mental activity on cognitive performance, emotional health, and overall brain resilience. 38. Exercise boosts brain health and cognition. Physical exercise is one of the most effective ways to enhance brain health and cognitive function. Aerobic activities, strength training, and coordination exercises increase blood flow to the brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients essential for neuronal function. Exercise stimulates the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that supports neuron survival, growth, and synaptic plasticity. This contributes to improved learning, memory, and problem-solving skills. Regular physical activity also reduces inflammation, lowers stress hormones, and enhances mood, all of which support optimal cognitive performance. Exercise has been linked to a reduced risk of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It also strengthens neural networks, promoting adaptability and resilience. Incorporating regular exercise into daily routines not only improves physical health but also maintains and enhances the brain's structure, function, and mental agility throughout life. 39. Diet influences brain performance and energy. Diet plays a crucial role in brain performance and energy levels. The brain requires a constant supply of nutrients to function optimally, including glucose for energy and essential vitamins and minerals for neurotransmitter synthesis. Diets rich in antioxidants, healthy fats, and proteins support neuron health and cognitive performance, while diets high in sugar and processed foods may impair memory, learning, and mood. Foods such as leafy greens, berries, nuts, and whole grains provide compounds that reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain, protecting against cognitive decline. Proper hydration is also critical for maintaining concentration and processing speed. Balanced nutrition supports synaptic plasticity, neurotransmission, and overall neural efficiency, emphasizing that what we eat directly affects our ability to think, learn, and regulate emotions effectively. Understanding the link between diet and brain function highlights the importance of mindful nutrition for lifelong cognitive health. 40. Omega-3 supports neuron function. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in foods like fish, flaxseed, and walnuts, are essential for healthy neuron function and brain development. These polyunsaturated fats are critical components of neuronal membranes, enhancing fluidity and supporting efficient signal transmission between neurons. Omega-3s also promote synaptic plasticity, improving learning and memory, and reduce inflammation, protecting the brain from age-related decline and neurological disorders. Studies suggest that adequate omega-3 intake can support mood regulation, potentially alleviating symptoms of depression and anxiety. During development, omega-3s are particularly important for the growth and maturation of the brain in infants and children. Adults benefit from these fatty acids by maintaining cognitive function and supporting overall brain health. By reinforcing neuronal structure and facilitating communication between brain cells, omega-3s demonstrate the profound impact of nutrition on the brain's performance and resilience. 41. Learning new skills strengthens neural pathways. When humans learn new skills, the brain strengthens existing neural pathways and creates new connections between neurons. This process, known as synaptic plasticity, allows the brain to adapt to new challenges, enhancing memory, coordination, and problem-solving abilities. Practicing a skill repeatedly reinforces these pathways, making tasks easier and more automatic over time. For example, learning a musical instrument or a new language stimulates multiple brain regions simultaneously, including the motor cortex, auditory cortex, and prefrontal cortex, promoting integrated cognitive development. Neural pathways also interact with emotional and reward centers, making learning a more engaging and motivating experience. Even adults retain the ability to form new pathways, demonstrating lifelong brain adaptability. Strengthening neural networks through learning not only improves performance in specific skills, but also enhances overall cognitive flexibility, resilience, and the ability to acquire new knowledge throughout life. 42. Brain processes information faster than any computer. The human brain is capable of processing vast amounts of information at incredible speeds, far surpassing most computers in efficiency and parallel processing. Billions of neurons communicate through trillions of synaptic connections, allowing simultaneous analysis of sensory input, memory retrieval, and decision-making. Unlike traditional computers, the brain operates with a combination of electrical impulses and chemical signaling, enabling adaptability, pattern recognition, and learning. It integrates complex data from multiple sources, such as vision, hearing, and touch, in real time, while also regulating emotions, motor functions, and homeostasis. Despite its slower individual neuron firing rates compared to transistors, the massive parallelism and interconnectedness of neural networks give the brain unparalleled processing power. This extraordinary efficiency allows humans to recognize faces, understand language, and respond creatively to novel situations, highlighting the remarkable computational capabilities of the brain as a dynamic, adaptive organ. 43. Reaction times rely on neural efficiency. Reaction time depends on how efficiently neurons transmit and process signals throughout the nervous system. When the brain perceives a stimulus, sensory neurons relay the information to the central nervous system, where it is processed and a response is formulated. Motor neurons then carry commands to the muscles, triggering movement. Faster synaptic transmission and well-organized neural pathways lead to quicker reaction times, which are crucial in activities like sports, driving, or responding to emergencies. Factors such as attention, fatigue, age, and practice affect neural efficiency and speed of response. Training and repeated exposure to specific tasks can enhance neural connections, improving reaction times over time. Understanding the reliance of reaction speed on neural efficiency demonstrates the intricate coordination between sensory input, processing, and motor output, highlighting the brain's role in controlling precise and timely actions. 44. Reflexes are processed in the spinal cord. Reflexes are rapid, involuntary responses to stimuli that are primarily processed in the spinal cord rather than the brain. When a sensory neuron detects a stimulus, it sends a signal to the spinal cord, which immediately activates a motor neuron to generate a response. This bypass of the brain allows reflexes to occur almost instantaneously, protecting the body from harm, such as quickly withdrawing a hand from a hot surface. Reflexes can be simple, like the knee-jerk reaction, or more complex, involving multiple neurons and muscle groups. Although reflexes are automatic, the brain can sometimes modulate or suppress them if necessary. Studying reflex pathways reveals the efficiency and specialization of the nervous system, demonstrating how the spinal cord functions as an essential processing hub that enables rapid protective responses while the brain handles higher cognitive functions and planning. 45. Pain perception is interpreted by the brain. Pain is not just a physical sensation, it is a complex experience interpreted by the brain. Nociceptors, specialized sensory neurons, detect harmful stimuli such as heat, pressure, or chemical injury and send signals through the spinal cord to the brain. The brain integrates these signals in regions like the somatosensory cortex, thalamus, and limbic system, generating the conscious perception of pain. Pain also has emotional and cognitive dimensions, affecting mood, attention, and behavior. Chronic pain can alter neural pathways, heightening sensitivity and changing the brain's structure and function. The perception of pain is influenced by factors such as attention, prior experiences, and expectation, highlighting its subjective nature. Understanding that pain is interpreted by the brain emphasizes the organ's central role in protecting the body and shaping the human experience of discomfort, learning, and adaptation. 46. Brain filters unnecessary sensory information. The brain constantly receives massive amounts of sensory input from the environment, but it cannot consciously process everything at once. To manage this, it filters out unnecessary or redundant information, focusing attention on what is most relevant. This selective filtering occurs in various brain regions, including the thalamus, sensory cortices, and prefrontal cortex. For example, in a crowded room, the brain can tune out background noise and focus on a single conversation, a phenomenon known as the cocktail party effect. Filtering also helps prevent sensory overload, allowing cognitive resources to be allocated efficiently. Attention, learning, and memory are enhanced when the brain effectively prioritizes information. Understanding this filtering process highlights the brain's ability to manage complexity and maintain focus, ensuring humans can respond effectively to their environment and make informed decisions based on relevant sensory data. 47. Attention is managed by the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe plays a central role in managing attention, enabling humans to focus on specific tasks, ignore distractions, and regulate cognitive processes. It coordinates both sustained attention, which maintains focus over time, and selective attention, which filters irrelevant stimuli. Networks within the prefrontal cortex interact with sensory areas and the parietal lobe to prioritize important information. This allows individuals to plan, problem solve, and respond appropriately to complex situations. Damage to the frontal lobe can result in difficulties sustaining focus, impulsivity, and poor executive functioning. Attention management also interacts with working memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation, highlighting the frontal lobe's integrative role in cognition. By orchestrating focus and cognitive control, the frontal lobe ensures that the brain efficiently processes relevant information while ignoring distractions, supporting learning, productivity, and adaptive behavior. 48. Decision-making involves multiple brain regions. Decision-making is a complex process involving multiple brain regions working together to evaluate options, predict outcomes, and select appropriate actions. The prefrontal cortex is central to reasoning, planning, and weighing consequences, while the amygdala contributes emotional input, influencing risk perception and motivation. The parietal and temporal lobes provide sensory and memory information, integrating past experiences into current choices. The basal ganglia and striatum are involved in habit formation and reward-based decisions, while the anterior cingulate cortex monitors conflicts and errors. Effective decision-making requires coordination between these regions, balancing logic, emotion, and intuition. Impairments in any of these areas can lead to poor judgment, impulsivity, or indecision. Understanding the distributed nature of decision-making demonstrates the brain's capacity to integrate diverse inputs and generate adaptive behaviors, highlighting the dynamic interplay between cognition, emotion, and experience in guiding human choices. 49. Language is processed mainly in left hemisphere. For most people, language processing primarily occurs in the left hemisphere of the brain. Key regions, including Broca's area and Wernicke's area, manage speech production and comprehension, respectively. The left hemisphere interprets grammar, vocabulary, and syntax, enabling effective communication. It also coordinates with auditory and motor areas to understand spoken language and produce coherent speech. In addition, reading and writing skills are heavily dependent on left hemisphere activity, integrating visual and linguistic information. While the right hemisphere contributes to aspects like intonation, metaphor, and emotional context, the left hemisphere is dominant in structuring and interpreting language. Damage to left hemisphere regions can result in aphasia, affecting the ability to speak, understand, or read language. Recognizing the hemisphere specialization emphasizes the brain's functional organization and its remarkable capacity to handle complex communication skills essential for social interaction and learning. 50. Broca's area controls speech production. Broca's area, located in the frontal lobe of the left hemisphere, is critical for speech production and language expression. It coordinates the motor functions necessary for forming words, controlling muscles in the mouth, tongue, and vocal cords. This area also plays a role in grammar and sentence structure, allowing speech to be fluent and coherent. Damage to Broca's area, often caused by stroke or injury, can result in Broca's aphasia, characterized by difficulty speaking, forming sentences, and articulating words, while comprehension often remains intact. Broca's area interacts with Wernicke's area, which processes language comprehension, and other cortical regions to integrate thought, memory, and auditory feedback into verbal communication. Understanding Broca's area highlights how specialized brain regions collaborate to produce complex behaviors like speech, emphasizing the intricate coordination required for human communication and expression. 51. Wernicke's area enables speech comprehension. Wernicke's area, located in the posterior part of the left temporal lobe, is essential for understanding spoken and written language. This region processes linguistic information, allowing the brain to decode words, syntax, and meaning. It works closely with Broca's area, which manages speech production, forming a comprehensive language network. Damage to Wernicke's area can result in Wernicke's aphasia, where individuals may produce fluent but nonsensical speech and struggle to comprehend language. Neural connections with auditory and visual cortices enable Wernicke's area to integrate sounds and text into meaningful communication. Additionally, it interacts with memory systems, helping to recall vocabulary and contextual understanding. The proper function of Wernicke's area is critical for effective communication, learning, and social interaction. Studying this brain region highlights how specialized neural areas collaborate to interpret and process the complex information necessary for human language comprehension. 52. Reading activates multiple brain networks. Reading is a complex cognitive activity that engages multiple brain networks simultaneously. Visual information from written text is processed in the occipital lobe, while the temporal lobe helps decode phonetics and word meanings. The parietal lobe integrates spatial and linguistic information, and the frontal lobe manages attention, comprehension, and higher-order reasoning. Broca's and Wernicke's areas work together to process language and grammar, ensuring understanding and verbalization when needed. Reading also activates memory networks, connecting new information with existing knowledge to enhance learning and retention. Emotional centers of the brain may be engaged when content resonates personally, influencing interpretation and empathy. This widespread neural activation demonstrates how interconnected brain regions collaborate to interpret symbols, extract meaning, and generate comprehension. Understanding the neural basis of reading emphasizes the brain's adaptability and its ability to integrate multiple systems to support literacy, learning, and cognitive growth. 53. Music affects emotion and memory processing. Music profoundly influences both emotional and cognitive brain processes. Listening to music activates the auditory cortex, while simultaneously engaging the limbic system, which regulates emotions, pleasure, and reward. The hippocampus, involved in memory, also becomes active, allowing music to trigger vivid recollections and enhance learning through mnemonic associations. Rhythm and melody engage motor areas, even when no movement occurs, highlighting the brain's integrated response. Music can reduce stress by modulating cortisol levels and promoting relaxation, while stimulating dopamine release enhances mood and motivation. Certain musical patterns improve attention, memory retention, and creativity, demonstrating the therapeutic and cognitive benefits of music. In education, therapy, and daily life, music serves as a powerful tool for emotional regulation, memory reinforcement, and neural stimulation. This illustrates the brain's remarkable ability to process complex auditory information and link it with emotion, memory, and behavior. 54. Mirror neurons enable imitation and learning. Mirror neurons are specialized brain cells that fire both when an individual performs an action and when they observe someone else performing the same action. These neurons are located primarily in the premotor cortex and inferior parietal lobule. They are crucial for imitation, skill learning, and understanding others' intentions, forming a neural basis for social cognition. By observing and replicating behaviors, humans acquire new skills, language, and cultural practices efficiently. Mirror neurons also contribute to empathy, as they allow the brain to simulate the actions and emotions of others, fostering understanding and social bonding. Dysfunction in mirror neuron systems has been linked to conditions such as autism spectrum disorders, affecting social learning and communication. Studying these neurons highlights the brain's capacity to learn through observation and interaction, emphasizing the intertwined nature of cognition, imitation, and social behavior in human development. 55. Empathy depends on brain connectivity. Empathy, the ability to understand and share others' emotions, relies on the coordinated activity and connectivity between multiple brain regions. The anterior insular, anterior cingulate cortex, and medial prefrontal cortex process emotional states, while mirror neuron systems simulate observed actions or feelings. Connections between these regions integrate sensory input, emotional awareness, and cognitive perspective-taking, enabling accurate interpretation of others' experiences. Strong connectivity supports social bonding, cooperation, and prosocial behavior. Disruptions in these networks can impair empathy, contributing to social and emotional difficulties. Emotional intelligence, compassion, and moral reasoning are influenced by the efficiency of these neural circuits. Functional neuroimaging studies reveal that observing someone in pain or joy activates overlapping brain regions, illustrating the neural basis of empathy. Understanding how brain connectivity underlies empathy highlights the intricate interplay between cognition, emotion, and social behavior, emphasizing the brain's role in shaping human relationships and compassion. 56. Visual cortex interprets shapes and color. The visual cortex, located in the occipital lobe at the back of the brain, is responsible for interpreting the visual world. It processes basic features such as shapes, colors, movement, and spatial orientation. Light entering the eyes is converted into electrical signals by the retina and transmitted via the optic nerve to the visual cortex. There, neurons analyze patterns, edges, and contrasts, allowing humans to recognize objects, faces, and motion. Higher-order processing in adjacent areas integrates this information with memory and attention, enabling complex visual perception, such as reading or navigating through spaces. Damage to the visual cortex can lead to partial or complete vision loss or impairments in recognizing objects. Understanding the visual cortex demonstrates how specialized brain regions collaborate to translate sensory input into coherent perception, allowing humans to interact effectively with their environment and make informed decisions based on what they see. 57. Brain can misinterpret optical illusions. Optical illusions reveal how the brain interprets visual information using assumptions, context, and prior knowledge. Sometimes, the brain misreads signals from the eyes, leading to perceptions that differ from reality. The visual cortex processes patterns, colors, and shapes, while higher-order areas in the brain integrate these signals with expectations and previous experiences. When cues are ambiguous or conflicting, the brain may create a perception that seems illogical but feels real. For example, lines may appear curved, objects may seem larger or smaller, and colors may appear altered. Optical illusions highlight the brain's predictive nature and reliance on context to make sense of sensory data. Studying these phenomena helps scientists understand perception, attention, and visual processing, revealing the active role the brain plays in constructing reality rather than simply recording it passively. 58. Multitasking reduces efficiency in the brain. While humans often attempt multitasking, the brain is not designed to process multiple complex tasks simultaneously efficiently. When switching between tasks, neural networks must reorient attention, update working memory, and reallocate cognitive resources. This constant switching, known as task switching, increases mental load, reduces focus, and slows reaction times. Studies show that multitasking can impair learning, memory retention, and overall productivity, as the brain struggles to maintain deep, uninterrupted processing. Continuous multitasking may also elevate stress levels and cognitive fatigue, affecting the prefrontal cortex, which is essential for planning, decision-making, and problem-solving. Although some simple or habitual tasks can be combined with minimal disruption, complex cognitive activities are best performed sequentially. Understanding the brain's limitations in multitasking underscores the importance of focused attention for effective learning, task completion, and mental efficiency. 59. Focus improves memory and learning. Focused attention is essential for effective memory formation and learning. When the brain concentrates on a specific task or piece of information, neural networks in the hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, and parietal lobes become highly active, strengthening synaptic connections. This enhanced connectivity allows information to be encoded more efficiently into long-term memory. Distractions or divided attention interfere with this process, making retention weaker and learning slower. Focus also engages executive functions, such as planning, problem-solving, and prioritization, which help integrate new knowledge with existing information. Techniques such as mindfulness, structured study routines, and minimizing external distractions enhance focus and cognitive performance. By directing attention deliberately, the brain optimizes its resources for processing, storing, and retrieving information, demonstrating that concentrated effort is critical for deep learning, skill acquisition, and overall intellectual growth. 60. Brain adapts to new environments. The brain is highly adaptable, capable of reorganizing and adjusting to new environments, experiences, and challenges. This adaptability, driven by neuroplasticity, allows neural connections to form, strengthen, or weaken in response to changes in surroundings or tasks. When exposed to novel environments, sensory, motor, and cognitive systems are engaged, encouraging learning and memory formation. For instance, relocating to a new city, learning a new language, or starting a new job stimulates different brain regions and promotes skill acquisition. Adaptation also includes emotional and social learning, enabling humans to respond appropriately to cultural or environmental differences. The ability to adjust to new environments demonstrates the brain's flexibility and resilience, highlighting its capacity to integrate sensory input, prior knowledge, and experience to maintain functionality and optimize behavior in constantly changing conditions. 61. Children's brains are highly plastic. Children's brains exhibit remarkable plasticity, meaning they can easily adapt, reorganize, and form new neural connections in response to experiences. This high level of neuroplasticity allows young brains to acquire language, motor skills, and social behaviors rapidly. Synaptic density is at its peak during early childhood, providing an abundant network for learning and memory formation. Environmental stimulation, education, and play significantly influence the strength and efficiency of neural circuits. Positive experiences enhance cognitive, emotional, and social development, while adverse experiences or neglect can disrupt normal brain growth. The malleability of children's brains allows for recovery from certain injuries, as alternative neural pathways can compensate for damaged areas. Understanding the plasticity of young brains emphasizes the importance of nurturing supportive environments that promote learning, resilience, and optimal cognitive development during critical early years. 62. Adolescence involves prefrontal cortex development. During adolescence, the prefrontal cortex, a brain region crucial for decision-making, planning, and impulse control, undergoes significant maturation. This development is characterized by synaptic pruning, where unnecessary neural connections are eliminated, and strengthening of essential pathways, improving cognitive efficiency. The prefrontal cortex interacts with emotional centers like the amygdala, gradually allowing teens to regulate emotions and make more reasoned decisions. Adolescence is also marked by increased myelination, enhancing the speed of neural transmission. This period of brain development explains why teenagers may sometimes act impulsively while simultaneously gaining improved problem-solving and abstract thinking skills over time. Social experiences, education, and challenges encountered during adolescence shape the wiring of the prefrontal cortex, influencing adult behavior, personality, and cognitive abilities. Understanding prefrontal cortex maturation highlights how adolescent experiences are critical for long-term brain development and decision-making capabilities. 63. Myelination continues into early adulthood. Myelination, The process of coating nerve fibers with a protective myelin sheath enhances the speed and efficiency of neural signal transmission. While myelination begins in infancy, it continues into early adulthood, particularly in regions like the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for executive functions, planning, and complex decision-making. This extended development allows for gradual improvement in cognitive abilities, emotional regulation, and problem-solving skills. Myelin not only increases signal speed but also protects neurons from damage, contributing to long-term brain health. Lifestyle factors such as physical activity, nutrition, and mental stimulation can support myelin integrity. The continuation of myelination into early adulthood demonstrates that brain development is an ongoing process, emphasizing the importance of experiences, learning, and environment during adolescence and young adulthood for optimizing cognitive performance and resilience throughout life. 64. Aging affects memory and processing speed. As the brain ages, changes in neural structure and function can influence memory, attention, and processing speed. Synaptic connections may weaken, and the efficiency of neurotransmitter signaling can decline, slowing cognitive responses. Older adults often experience reduced working memory capacity and longer reaction times. The hippocampus, critical for forming new memories, can shrink, affecting the ability to retain new information. However, accumulated knowledge and experience often compensate for these declines, allowing older adults to excel in tasks requiring wisdom, judgment, and problem-solving. Physical exercise, cognitive training, social engagement, and a healthy diet can help maintain brain function and slow age-related cognitive decline. Recognizing these age-related changes emphasizes the importance of lifestyle interventions and mental stimulation to support cognitive health and quality of life as the brain matures. 65. Brain shrinkage occurs naturally with age. Natural brain shrinkage, or atrophy, occurs gradually with aging, affecting both gray and white matter. This reduction in volume is most pronounced in regions such as the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, impacting executive functions, memory, and learning. Neuronal loss, decreased synaptic density, and changes in myelin contribute to this shrinkage, although the brain remains remarkably adaptable through neuroplasticity. Cognitive decline varies among individuals, influenced by genetics, lifestyle, education, and health factors. Maintaining an active mind through learning, social interaction, physical exercise, and healthy nutrition can help mitigate shrinkage effects and preserve cognitive function. Despite natural atrophy, many brain regions maintain function and compensate through strengthened neural networks. Understanding age-related brain shrinkage underscores the importance of proactive mental and physical care to support lifelong cognitive performance and resilience. 66. Neurogenesis slows down with aging. Neurogenesis, the process of forming new neurons, continues throughout life but slows as we age. This reduction occurs particularly in the hippocampus, a region essential for learning and memory. While fewer neurons are generated in older adults, existing neural networks remain adaptable, and neuroplasticity allows the brain to reorganize and strengthen remaining connections. Factors like physical exercise, cognitive engagement, adequate sleep, and a healthy diet can support ongoing neurogenesis and maintain cognitive function. Chronic stress, inflammation, and sedentary lifestyles can accelerate the decline in neuron formation. Slower neurogenesis explains why memory, learning speed, and adaptability may decrease with age. Yet lifelong mental stimulation can partially offset these effects. Understanding the relationship between aging and neurogenesis highlights the brain's dynamic nature and emphasizes the importance of sustaining habits that promote neural health across the lifespan. 67. Learning keeps the brain active longer. Continuous learning stimulates the brain, reinforcing neural pathways and encouraging the formation of new connections. Engaging in new skills, languages, or challenging cognitive tasks keeps synapses active, promoting neuroplasticity. Lifelong learning enhances memory, attention, and problem-solving abilities while increasing cognitive reserve, which can delay age-related cognitive decline. Mental activity boosts blood flow and supports the release of growth factors that nourish neurons. Even simple activities, like reading, puzzles, or learning a musical instrument, can stimulate multiple brain regions, integrating sensory, motor, and cognitive processes. Social learning and discussion further engage emotional and social circuits, enhancing overall brain function. By keeping the brain engaged, learning not only improves current cognitive abilities but also builds resilience against future neurological challenges, demonstrating the profound impact of intellectual activity on brain longevity. 68. Mental challenges boost cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve refers to the brain's ability to compensate for age-related changes or damage, allowing individuals to maintain function despite neural decline. Mental challenges, such as solving puzzles, engaging in strategic games, learning new skills, or tackling complex tasks, strengthen neural networks and increase synaptic density. This enhanced connectivity allows the brain to reroute functions efficiently when certain areas are impaired. Higher cognitive reserve is associated with slower onset of dementia symptoms and better overall mental resilience. Both intellectual and social challenges contribute, as engaging in discussion, teaching, or collaborative problem-solving activates multiple brain regions. Building cognitive reserve is a lifelong process, emphasizing that the brain's adaptability can be actively enhanced through stimulation, continuous learning, and diverse experiences, ultimately promoting mental agility and protecting against age-related cognitive decline. 69. Problem-solving activates frontal and parietal lobes. Problem-solving engages multiple brain regions, particularly the frontal and parietal lobes. The frontal lobe is responsible for planning, decision-making, and logical reasoning, while the parietal lobe integrates sensory information and spatial awareness to guide solutions. Complex tasks require the coordination of these areas with memory systems in the hippocampus and attentional networks in the prefrontal cortex. Effective problem-solving involves evaluating options, predicting outcomes, and implementing strategies, which strengthens neural circuits and enhances cognitive flexibility. Repeated problem-solving can improve executive functions, creativity, and adaptive thinking. Challenges that require abstract reasoning, pattern recognition, or multitasking stimulate widespread neural activation, enhancing both functional and structural connectivity. Understanding the brain regions involved in problem-solving illustrates how coordinated networks allow humans to navigate novel situations, make informed decisions, and adapt intelligently to complex real-world challenges. 70. Creativity involves interaction of multiple brain areas. Creativity arises from the dynamic interaction of multiple brain areas working together to generate novel ideas, solutions, and artistic expression. The prefrontal cortex manages planning, flexibility, and divergent thinking, while the temporal lobes access memory and semantic knowledge. The parietal lobe contributes spatial reasoning, and the default mode network supports imagination and daydreaming. Emotional centers, including the amygdala and limbic system, influence motivation, inspiration, and aesthetic appreciation. Neural connectivity between these regions allows the brain to combine past experiences, sensory input, and abstract concepts in innovative ways. Engaging in creative activities, such as writing, painting, music, or problem-solving, strengthens these networks, promoting cognitive flexibility and resilience. Creativity also interacts with reward systems, encouraging exploration and risk-taking. Understanding the neural basis of creativity reveals how the brain integrates cognition, emotion, and memory to produce original thoughts and solutions that define human innovation and expression. 71. Imagination activates visual and prefrontal regions. Imagination engages both the visual cortex and prefrontal cortex, allowing the brain to create mental images, simulate scenarios, and plan future actions. The visual cortex generates vivid sensory experiences without external stimuli, while the prefrontal cortex organizes ideas, applies logic, and manages attention. This interaction supports creative thinking, problem-solving, and abstract reasoning. Imagination also involves the default mode network, which integrates memory, emotions, and self-reflection. Through mental visualization, humans can rehearse actions, anticipate consequences, and explore novel possibilities, enhancing learning and decision-making. Engaging in imaginative activities strengthens neural pathways, promotes cognitive flexibility, and can reduce stress by providing an outlet for mental exploration. Understanding the brain regions activated during imagination highlights the intricate coordination that enables humans to envision, innovate, and mentally experiment with the world around them. 72. Dreams may consolidate memories and emotions. Dreaming occurs primarily during REM sleep and plays a vital role in memory consolidation and emotional processing. During this stage, the hippocampus and neocortex interact to transfer short-term memories into long-term storage, integrating new information with existing knowledge. Dreams also engage the amygdala, helping the brain process emotions, reduce stress, and simulate problem-solving scenarios. While some dreams are random or nonsensical, they often reflect concerns, experiences, and creative thought patterns. Research suggests that dreaming enhances learning, emotional regulation, and cognitive flexibility, preparing the brain to handle future challenges. Sleep and dreams are crucial for maintaining mental health, focus, and resilience, emphasizing the brain's sophisticated mechanisms for processing both information and feelings during rest. Understanding the purpose of dreams demonstrates how the brain actively organizes and refines cognitive and emotional experiences overnight. 73. Sleep deprivation impairs cognition and focus. Sleep deprivation negatively affects cognitive function, attention, and memory. When the brain lacks sufficient rest, prefrontal cortex activity declines, impairing decision-making, problem-solving, and emotional regulation. Neural connections involved in learning and memory are weakened, making information retention less efficient. The hippocampus, crucial for consolidating memories, cannot perform optimally, and reaction times slow due to decreased activity in sensory and motor pathways. Sleep deprivation also increases stress hormones, impacting mood and increasing impulsivity. Chronic lack of sleep has been linked to long-term cognitive decline, reduced neuroplasticity, and elevated risk of neurological disorders. Ensuring adequate sleep allows the brain to restore energy, reinforce synaptic connections, and maintain cognitive performance, highlighting the essential role of rest in overall brain health, focus, and adaptive functioning. 74. Brain uses 20 watts of power awake. The human brain consumes approximately 20 watts of power while awake, making it an energy-intensive organ relative to its size. Despite representing only about 2% of body weight, the brain requires nearly 20% of the body's total energy. This energy supports electrical and chemical signaling between neurons, synaptic transmission, and maintenance of resting potentials essential for communication. Glucose and oxygen supply fuel this activity, while mitochondria within neurons generate ATP to power cellular functions. High energy demands are especially prominent during tasks requiring concentration, problem-solving, or sensory processing. Understanding the brain's energy consumption highlights its remarkable efficiency, as even this relatively low power allows for complex cognition, memory, and decision-making. Maintaining proper nutrition and blood flow is essential for sustaining this energy-intensive organ and ensuring optimal mental performance throughout the day. 75. Brain plasticity aids adaptation to injury. Brain plasticity, or neuroplasticity, enables the brain to adapt after injury by reorganizing neural pathways and forming new connections. When a region is damaged due to stroke, trauma, or disease, Adjacent areas or alternative circuits can take over functions previously managed by the injured tissue. Rehabilitation strategies, including physical therapy, cognitive exercises, and sensory stimulation, leverage neuroplasticity to restore motor skills, language, memory, and other cognitive abilities. Neurogenesis and synaptic strengthening contribute to recovery, while repeated practice reinforces functional rewiring. The degree of adaptation depends on factors such as age, overall brain health, and intensity of therapy. Understanding neuroplasticity demonstrates the brain's remarkable resilience, highlighting its capacity to compensate for damage, recover function, and maintain quality of life even after significant neurological challenges. 76. Stroke can affect brain functions differently. A stroke occurs when blood flow to part of the brain is interrupted or reduced, depriving brain tissue of oxygen and nutrients. Depending on the location and severity, a stroke can affect various brain functions differently. For example, damage to the left hemisphere may impair speech, language, and logical reasoning, while right hemisphere strokes may affect spatial awareness, attention, or emotional processing. Motor functions, vision, memory, and sensation can also be impacted. The brain's response involves both damage repair and neuroplasticity, where healthy regions attempt to compensate for lost functions. Rehabilitation therapies, including physical, occupational, and speech therapy, leverage this adaptability to help individuals regain abilities. Understanding how strokes impact the brain emphasizes the complexity of neural networks and the importance of timely intervention, treatment, and targeted rehabilitation for functional recovery. 77. Brain hemispheres specialize but communicate constantly. The brain's two hemispheres, left and right, are specialized for different functions yet maintain constant communication. The left hemisphere typically handles language, logic, and analytical tasks, while the right hemisphere manages spatial reasoning, creativity, and emotional perception. Despite these specializations, both hemispheres work in concert, exchanging information through a thick bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. This communication allows integrated cognitive function, such as using reasoning to solve spatial problems or applying creativity to language tasks. Hemispheric collaboration is essential for learning, problem-solving, and adapting to complex environments. Understanding hemispheric specialization and connectivity highlights the brain's balance between division of labor and unified processing, showing how multiple regions coordinate to generate coherent thought, perception, and behavior. 78. Corpus callosum connects the two hemispheres. The corpus callosum is a wide, thick band of nerve fibers connecting the left and right hemispheres of the brain. It enables the rapid transmission of information between both sides, allowing them to coordinate sensory perception, motor function, and higher cognitive processes. For example, while one hemisphere interprets language, the other may process accompanying visual or emotional cues. Damage to the corpus callosum, as seen in rare medical conditions or surgical interventions, can result in split brain phenomena, where hemispheres operate more independently, leading to unique behavioral and perceptual effects. The integrity of this structure is vital for coordinated movement, complex problem-solving, and integrated consciousness. Studying the corpus callosum reveals how communication between hemispheres underpins cohesive cognition, emphasizing its central role in uniting the brain's dual systems for seamless function. 79. Brain maps the body in the cortex. The brain contains detailed maps of the body within the cortex, a phenomenon known as somatotopy. The primary motor cortex and somatosensory cortex each represent different body parts in an organized manner. Larger areas are devoted to regions requiring precise control, such as the hands, lips, and face. These cortical maps enable fine motor movements, tactile perception, and coordination of complex tasks. Sensory input and motor commands are processed through these neural representations, integrating feedback for accurate movement and sensation. Damage to specific cortical areas can lead to deficits in sensation or motor control for corresponding body parts. Understanding cortical body maps illustrates the precision and specialization of neural circuits, highlighting how the brain organizes and processes sensory and motor information to produce coordinated, purposeful actions throughout the body. 80. Somatosensory cortex processes touch and sensation. The somatosensory cortex, located in the parietal lobe, is responsible for processing touch, pressure, temperature, pain, and proprioception, body position. Sensory signals from skin, muscles, and joints are transmitted via peripheral nerves and spinal pathways to this region, where they are interpreted to create a conscious perception of the body and environment. The cortex maintains a precise body map, with more sensitive areas like fingers and lips occupying larger regions. This neural organization allows fine discrimination of textures, shapes, and spatial awareness. The somatosensory cortex also integrates sensory input with motor planning, enabling coordinated responses. Damage to this area can impair tactile perception or spatial orientation. Studying the somatosensory cortex reveals how the brain transforms raw sensory data into meaningful experience, guiding interactions with the physical world and informing behavior. 81. Motor cortex directs voluntary movements. The motor cortex, located in the frontal lobe, is responsible for planning, controlling, and executing voluntary movements. Different regions of the motor cortex correspond to specific body parts, with fine motor control areas like the hands and face receiving larger representation. When a movement is initiated, neurons in the motor cortex send signals through descending pathways to the spinal cord, which then activate muscles. The motor cortex works in coordination with the cerebellum and basal ganglia to ensure precise timing, balance, and smooth execution of actions. Damage to this area can lead to weakness, paralysis, or impaired coordination in the affected body parts. Understanding the motor cortex highlights the brain's role in translating intention into action, allowing humans to interact with and manipulate their environment intentionally and effectively. 82. Reflex arcs bypass the brain for speed. Reflex arcs are rapid, automatic responses to stimuli that bypass the brain to ensure swift reactions. When a sensory receptor detects a stimulus, such as touching a hot surface, the signal travels through a sensory neuron to the spinal cord. Here, an interneuron processes the information and immediately triggers a motor neuron to produce a response, like withdrawing the hand. This pathway reduces reaction time, allowing the body to react before the brain consciously processes the event. Although reflexes are automatic, the brain can later receive feedback about the action. Reflex arcs are critical for survival, protecting the body from harm and supporting basic motor coordination. Studying reflex mechanisms highlights how the nervous system prioritizes speed and safety, demonstrating the efficiency of neural circuits in immediate response to environmental threats. 83. Sensory input is integrated in the thalamus. The thalamus, located deep within the brain, acts as a central relay station for sensory input. Signals from the eyes, ears, skin, and other sensory organs are transmitted to the thalamus, where they are sorted and directed to the appropriate cortical areas for processing. This integration ensures that sensory information is accurately interpreted and coordinated, allowing perception, attention, and appropriate behavioral responses. The thalamus also plays a role in regulating sleep, alertness, and consciousness, linking sensory processing to broader brain functions. Damage to the thalamus can result in sensory deficits, altered perception, or disruptions in consciousness. Understanding the thalamus reveals how the brain efficiently organizes and prioritizes information, acting as a critical hub that connects sensation with cognition and action. 84. Hypothalamus regulates hunger, thirst, and hormones. The hypothalamus, a small but vital brain region located beneath the thalamus, regulates essential bodily functions including hunger, thirst, body temperature, and hormone production. It maintains homeostasis by detecting changes in internal conditions and sending signals to other organs and glands to restore balance. The hypothalamus communicates with the pituitary gland, often called the master gland, to control hormone release affecting growth, metabolism, and stress responses. It also influences sleep, emotional behavior, and sexual function, linking physiological processes with behavior and cognition. Dysfunction in the hypothalamus can result in disorders such as obesity, hormonal imbalances, or temperature regulation problems. Studying the hypothalamus demonstrates how a small region of the brain orchestrates complex interactions between the nervous and endocrine systems, maintaining equilibrium and regulating vital life functions. 85. Pituitary gland is the master gland. The pituitary gland, located at the base of the brain, is often called the master gland because it regulates multiple endocrine glands throughout the body. It secretes hormones that control growth, metabolism, stress response, reproductive function, and water balance. The hypothalamus directs pituitary activity, ensuring precise hormonal regulation. The gland has two main parts: the anterior pituitary, which releases hormones like growth hormone, thyroid-stimulating hormone, and adrenocorticotropic hormone, and the posterior pituitary, which releases oxytocin and vasopressin. Proper pituitary function is essential for overall health, as imbalances can cause conditions such as dwarfism, gigantism, infertility, or metabolic disorders. Studying the pituitary gland highlights its central role in connecting the brain with the endocrine system, coordinating physiological processes, and maintaining homeostasis across the body. 86. Brain coordinates endocrine and nervous systems. The brain plays a central role in coordinating the endocrine and nervous systems, ensuring that the body maintains balance and responds appropriately to internal and external stimuli. The hypothalamus acts as a bridge between these systems, detecting changes in the body and sending signals to the pituitary gland to release hormones. These hormones regulate growth, metabolism, stress responses, and reproductive functions. Meanwhile, the nervous system transmits rapid electrical signals to organs and muscles, providing immediate responses to environmental challenges. This coordination allows the brain to manage complex interactions, such as stress responses, energy regulation, and homeostasis. Understanding how the brain integrates endocrine and nervous functions demonstrates its essential role in synchronizing bodily processes, maintaining health, and adapting to changing conditions. 87. Memory consolidation occurs during deep sleep. Memory consolidation, the process of stabilizing and storing new information, primarily occurs during deep non-REM sleep. During this stage, the hippocampus communicates with the neocortex to transfer temporary memories into long-term storage, reinforcing neural connections. Synaptic strengthening and pruning occur, allowing the brain to optimize information retention while discarding irrelevant data. Deep sleep also aids emotional regulation, as experiences and feelings are processed alongside factual memories. Disruptions in sleep can impair memory consolidation, reduce learning efficiency, and affect cognitive performance. Practices such as maintaining consistent sleep schedules, reducing stress, and ensuring adequate rest enhance the brain's ability to consolidate memories. Understanding this process highlights the critical importance of deep sleep for cognitive health, learning, and long-term memory formation. 88. Long-term memory involves multiple brain regions. Long-term memory is supported by a network of brain regions that work together to encode, store, and retrieve information. The hippocampus is essential for forming and consolidating new memories, while the neocortex stores facts, knowledge, and experiences over time. The amygdala contributes emotional context, enhancing memory salience, and the prefrontal cortex supports retrieval and organization. Sensory areas, such as the visual and auditory cortices, help recall specific details. Neural connections are strengthened through repeated activation and reinforcement, allowing memories to become more stable. Disruptions in any of these regions can impair memory function, illustrating the interdependence of multiple brain areas. Understanding long-term memory networks highlights how complex interactions between cognition, emotion, and sensory processing underpin the rich and durable storage of human experience. 89. Short-term memory relies on prefrontal cortex. Short-term memory, or working memory, is primarily managed by the prefrontal cortex, which temporarily holds and manipulates information for immediate use. This capacity allows individuals to perform tasks such as mental calculations, following instructions, and decision-making. The prefrontal cortex interacts with sensory regions to integrate new data and with the hippocampus to transfer important information into long-term memory. Neural activity in this area is characterized by rapid, flexible signaling, enabling attention, planning, and problem-solving. Stress, fatigue, or distraction can reduce working memory efficiency, highlighting its sensitivity to environmental and internal factors. Understanding short-term memory emphasizes the prefrontal cortex's role as a cognitive workspace, essential for daily functioning, learning, and adaptive behavior. 90. Brain can compensate for lost functions. The brain's remarkable adaptability allows it to compensate for lost functions through neuroplasticity. When damage occurs, such as from injury, stroke, or disease, healthy regions can reorganize and take over responsibilities of affected areas. Neural circuits can be rerouted, and new synapses may form to restore cognitive, motor, or sensory abilities. Rehabilitation techniques, including physical therapy, cognitive training, and repetitive practice, enhance this compensatory process. The degree of recovery depends on factors like age, brain health, and the intensity of interventions. This adaptive capacity demonstrates the brain's resilience, highlighting how it continuously modifies itself to maintain function, recover abilities, and support quality of life even after significant neurological challenges.
91. Neurotransmitter imbalances affect mood and behavior. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that transmit signals between neurons, regulating mood, behavior, and cognition. Imbalances in key neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine can lead to mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, or impulsive behaviors. Dopamine affects motivation, reward processing, and pleasure, while serotonin influences mood, sleep, and appetite. Disruptions in these systems can alter emotional responses, decision-making, and stress resilience. Medications, therapy, lifestyle changes, and diet can help restore balance and improve brain function. Understanding neurotransmitter dynamics highlights the brain's chemical complexity and its direct influence on human behavior, emotions, and overall mental well-being. 92. Alzheimer's disease affects memory and cognition. Alzheimer's disease is a progressive neurodegenerative disorder that primarily affects memory, thinking, and behavior. It is characterized by the accumulation of amyloid plaques and tau tangles in the brain, which disrupt communication between neurons and lead to cell death. Early symptoms often include forgetfulness, difficulty learning new information, and subtle changes in personality. As the disease progresses, patients may struggle with language, decision-making, and performing daily tasks. The hippocampus, a critical area for memory formation, is especially vulnerable. Although there is currently no cure, treatments aim to slow progression, improve cognitive function, and manage symptoms. Research into Alzheimer's provides insight into how neural degeneration impacts memory, cognition, and quality of life. 93. Parkinson's disease impacts movement and dopamine levels. Parkinson's disease is a neurological disorder that primarily affects movement due to the progressive loss of dopamine-producing neurons in the substantia nigra. Dopamine is essential for controlling smooth, coordinated muscle movements. Symptoms include tremors, rigidity, bradykinesia, slowness of movement, and postural instability. Parkinson's also affects mood, cognition, and sleep due to the widespread influence of dopamine in the brain. Treatments may involve medications that increase dopamine levels, deep brain stimulation, or physical therapy to improve motor function. Studying Parkinson's disease highlights the critical role of neurotransmitters in motor control and demonstrates how specific neural pathways influence both physical and cognitive abilities. 94. Brain tumors can alter perception and function. Brain tumors are abnormal growths of cells within the brain that can disrupt normal neural function. Depending on their location, size, and growth rate, tumors can affect movement, speech, vision, memory, and personality. For example, a tumor in the frontal lobe may impair decision-making and executive function, while one in the occipital lobe can affect vision. Symptoms may include headaches, seizures, nausea, and cognitive changes. Treatment typically involves surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy, depending on tumor type and severity. Studying brain tumors emphasizes the delicate balance of neural networks and demonstrates how structural disruptions can profoundly impact perception, cognition, and overall brain function. 95. Epilepsy involves abnormal brain electrical activity. Epilepsy is a neurological disorder characterized by recurrent seizures caused by abnormal electrical activity in the brain. Seizures can vary in severity, from brief lapses in awareness to intense convulsions affecting the whole body. The disorder may result from genetic factors, brain injury, infections, or developmental abnormalities. During a seizure, neurons fire excessively and synchronously, temporarily disrupting normal brain function. Epilepsy can affect memory, mood, and daily functioning, depending on seizure type and frequency. Treatments include medications, lifestyle modifications, and in some cases, surgical interventions or neurostimulation therapies. Understanding epilepsy reveals the importance of electrical signaling in the brain and the impact of dysregulated neural activity on behavior and cognition.
96. Brain imaging shows structure and activity. Brain imaging techniques allow scientists and doctors to visualize the structure and function of the human brain. Methods like MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, provide detailed pictures of brain anatomy, revealing abnormalities, tumors, or injuries. Functional imaging, such as fMRI and PET scans, shows brain activity during specific tasks, highlighting which areas are involved in movement, cognition, emotion, and sensory processing. These technologies help researchers understand brain organization, connectivity, and disorders while aiding diagnosis and treatment planning. Imaging also enables the study of neuroplasticity, allowing observation of how the brain adapts to learning, injury, or disease. Understanding brain imaging emphasizes the power of modern technology in exploring the brain's complex structure and dynamic activity, providing insights into human cognition and behavior. 97. fMRI tracks real-time brain function. Functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, is a non-invasive technique that measures brain activity by detecting changes in blood flow. When neurons are active, they consume more oxygen, and fMRI captures these fluctuations, producing real-time maps of brain function. Researchers use fMRI to study memory, attention, emotion, and motor control, as well as to understand neurological and psychiatric disorders. This technology reveals how different regions of the brain interact during tasks and experiences, providing insight into complex neural networks. fMRI is also used in pre-surgical planning to locate critical functional areas, minimizing risks during brain surgery. By tracking brain function in real time, fMRI has revolutionized neuroscience, allowing the observation of the living brain in action and deepening our understanding of cognition, behavior, and neural plasticity. 98. EEG records electrical brain waves. Electroencephalography, EEG, is a technique that records the brain's electrical activity using electrodes placed on the scalp. EEG captures patterns of brain waves, including delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma rhythms, each associated with different states such as sleep, relaxation, concentration, and problem-solving. EEG is widely used to diagnose neurological conditions like epilepsy, sleep disorders, and brain injuries, as abnormal electrical patterns can indicate dysfunction. It also allows researchers to study cognitive processes, attention, and emotional responses. EEG's high temporal resolution provides precise timing of neural events, making it valuable for understanding rapid brain activity. By analyzing electrical brainwaves, scientists gain critical insight into how neurons communicate, process information, and regulate consciousness, emphasizing the importance of electrical signaling in overall brain function. 99. Brain evolution enabled language and culture. The evolution of the human brain has been fundamental in developing language, culture, and complex social behavior. Over millions of years, the neocortex expanded, enabling advanced cognition, abstract thinking, and problem-solving. Brain structures like Broca's and Wernicke's areas became specialized for language production and comprehension, allowing humans to communicate, transmit knowledge, and build communities. Cognitive abilities such as memory, planning, and empathy contributed to the development of art, technology, and societal structures. Evolutionary changes in the brain also enhanced tool use, symbolic thinking, and cultural learning, distinguishing humans from other species. Understanding brain evolution provides insight into how anatomical and functional adaptations have shaped communication, social interaction, and the rich cultural achievements of humanity. 100. Human brain remains the most complex organ. The human brain is the most complex organ in the body, containing approximately 86 billion neurons interconnected through trillions of synapses. This intricate network enables consciousness, abstract reasoning, emotions, sensory perception, and voluntary movement. Each neuron communicates through electrical and chemical signals, forming dynamic circuits that adapt through experience and learning. The brain coordinates bodily functions, processes information, and generates behavior, all while maintaining homeostasis. Despite advances in neuroscience, much of its structure, function, and potential remain a mystery. Its unparalleled complexity allows humans to innovate, create, communicate, and adapt to diverse environments. Studying the brain highlights its extraordinary capacity for processing information, memory, emotion, and thought, underscoring why it continues to fascinate scientists, philosophers, and anyone seeking to understand the essence of human experience. We've just explored 100 fascinating facts about the human brain, discovering its incredible complexity, adaptability, and power. From the billions of neurons communicating at lightning speed to the way our brain rewires itself through neuroplasticity, we've seen how every thought, emotion, and movement is orchestrated by this remarkable organ. We learned how different regions like the prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and amygdala shape our decision-making, memory, emotions, and social behavior. We explored how neurotransmitters influence mood, how sleep consolidates memories, and how the brain compensates for injury. We also touched on neurological disorders, brain imaging technologies, and even the evolution of the human brain that enabled language, culture, and creativity. Your brain is not just an organ, it's a universe within you, constantly learning, adapting, and connecting. If you enjoyed this journey through the wonders of the human mind, don't forget to subscribe to Heavenly Sleep Stories for more relaxing, fascinating content that feeds your curiosity and helps you unwind. Comment below and let us know which topics you'd like us to explore next. Maybe more about the brain, human history, or even the mysteries of the universe. Your suggestions shape our next stories, so join us and stay inspired.